It's the middle of January 2020 and it's winter time. It's finally gotten cold out here and I've got a 6-volt battery in this thing. I've had comment after comment saying good luck with that thing in the winter time being 6 volts since I didn't, you know, swap it over to 12 volts. Last night it got to about 14 and tonight it's supposed to get about 8. I haven't started this thing in about 2 weeks. So I've had a lot of people ask me what type of oil am I running in this thing, and you know, should I be running a straight 30, 10W30? And originally I was going to run a straight 30 and I decided to run a 10W30. All right, so it's about 1/3 of a quart low, perfectly fine. I'm running a Schaefer synthetic blend in this thing, 10W30, and I opted to go with 10W30 instead of that 30 weight oil because in the wintertime, 30 weight is gonna be more sluggish, it's gonna be harder to start, and while that oil is cold, that 10 weight, or it's gonna act as a 10 weight, it's gonna allow that engine to move a lot easier, especially with this 6-volt system. So like I said, I haven't started this thing in a couple weeks, and I try not to drive it whenever it's snowing, and I have driven it in the snow, but you know, this thing is old and I'm trying to really not let it rot out anymore. And you know, right now that we've just got out of the snow and there's salt and that kind of grime all over the road, and I really don't want to get all that salt up you know, under the frame and rot out the floorboards any worse than they already are. In the summertime, whenever I go to start this thing, I never have to choke it. I rebuilt that carburetor. Actually, my son and I rebuilt that carburetor. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link that right up there. But I never have to choke the thing, and it cranks right over, fires right up. In the wintertime, I've had to choke it, but usually it starts up pretty good. So pull that choke out, turn the ignition on. And one really cool thing about this truck is it's got a millennial anti-theft device. And to start it, you push down right here with your foot, and that's the starter button. Ooh, she's cranking pretty slow. I think she's gonna fire off though. I don't know. I'll give her a break for a second. Well, the battery hasn't died yet. Ooh, there we go. We got oil pressure. Oil pressure's good. It's gonna peg the gauge. The gauge goes to 30. And this thing has really good oil pressure. A lot of people have told me, let me push this choke in a little bit. Man, purrs like a kitten. A lot of people have told me that thing, you know, being an old 216 Babbitt motor, it's not gonna have very good oil pressure. When we got this thing, we went through and we did a lot of work to this. If you're not familiar with this truck at all, I've got 7 or 8 or 9 videos on this thing. And we found out that it had a reman engine back in the 80s. And this was a one-owner truck. He drove it from 1949 to about 1985 whenever he passed away. But in the early 80s, he had Jasper engines. He had a reman engine. So that's basically where you know, they do a full rebuild on the engine. They put new Babbitt in the bearings, on the rods. And anyway, the dealership that he, or the mechanic shop, I highly doubt it was done at the dealership. It might have been actually, but either way, they put a new engine in it, and we found some stickers down on the side of the block that said JE, and then it had a part number, and there was like 5 or 7 different sticker locations, and there was 2 stickers left. And I called Jasper Engines, and they said, well, is your engine green? And those are definitely our sticker numbers. So long story short, this thing has great oil pressure, and as you can hear, it sounds amazing. The odometer on this thing says 24,000. 144. And whenever we got it, it was about 21,415 if I recall. Since we've got this thing, we put some tires on it. We opted to go Biasply tires, and being that it's set for a few weeks and it's super cold out right now, I can definitely tell that the tires have some flat spots in them. They'll go away within the next 5 minutes, I'm sure of it, once they warm up. But anyway, man, this thing trucks on down the road. I love driving this thing, and we just got it on the first day of July, and it took us a few months to get it running. So the engine temperature is finally warming up. We're about 165 degrees right now. The oil pressure is down a little over 15, but that's usually where it runs going down the highway. And like I said, a lot of people said that thing, you know, it might say 0 at an idle, but no, it never does. Just because I would assume, because it's a pretty fresh engine, and I bet it only has a few years on it after it was put in before the guy passed away. But we're gonna go cut some wood now in the old trusty Chevy. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you haven't checked out our old videos on this thing, I'll put a link to the whole playlist right up here. And real soon, we've got some new projects coming. We'll see you guys on the next video.